Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Podcast. I'm BJ, with me is Jeff, and today we're talking about the 1966 comedy?
Batman the movie comedy. Yeah.
I find myself once more confused as to how to label a movie we just watched. Comedy?
It is hard to label this. Is it a comedy? Is it not? Is it just a fun action show? It's really hard to know what they were going for. But I think that I want to say I listened to an Adam West interview long ago. This is like diving into the deep realms of my memory. So there's a lot of crazy things back there that may not make sense. But I want to say that at some point I heard him say that he read the script for this movie and he just thought it was so much fun, he just wanted to do it. So I think Adam West sees this movie as just a fun script to enjoy. Yeah.
I really have no idea where this conversation is going to go because
Okay.
I'm not sure what there is to talk about in this movie.
Well, I can get into some deep philosophical discussion somehow. We can just, yeah, we'll figure it out.
So,
Somehow it will turn into something where you roll your eyes and say, come on now. That's got to be going too far.
So might as well start with this one from the get-go. So this movie was your idea.
Yeah.
So out of all the various Batman movies, we have the Batman movie that was made in the 80s. You had the Nolan Batmans. Why is this our first Batman movie, Jeff?
Because this is the best one to watch. This is the one that will just make you laugh. How or why it makes you laugh is more of a mystery, but it will make you laugh, and that's what matters. So I think this is an excellent Batman movie that most people have never seen or even might even know exists, but it does exist, and Batman was a very different character in 1966. And in fact, he was really more of just a comic book hero type. He wasn't the dark, mysterious, troubled hero who has inner turmoil and is now out to right wrongs and to commit revenge against those that have hurt him or hurt anyone else. It's not an Ahab story of him against evil. In this movie, it's just them in colorful costumes going around with quirky, entertaining villains. And it's funny. The storyline's funny. The things they do are funny. The jokes in it are funny. And I think that they were meant to be jokes. They were meant to be humorous, but they kind of, I think they overdid it. Like, they unintentionally created something that was so quirky that it went beyond quirky to a realm of just out of this world silly. And so it feels like a B movie through the whole thing. Whether they intended for that or not, I don't know. But it has all the charm and pizzazz of a B movie. All of that. And so it's a good movie. Good Batman movie. And it's one that I recommend people don't miss.
Well, basically, if you had ever seen any of the 1960s Batman TV shows, it's basically the Batman TV show, but an hour and 40 minutes long.
But an hour and 40 minutes. Yeah, but I think they did a good job of just putting together everything great in the Batman TV show. You get a whole lot of the Batman TV show crammed into that hour and a half. I mean, you just get a lot. You get a lot of the characters. You get a lot of the typical storylines, and the story that they came up with it's rich in its own way. Anyway, so what did you think? Just tell me.
Once more,
I like the movie, but I like it more, I guess, what most people would call ironically like, even though I don't like that term. But yeah. So what did you think of it? What do you think of it?
I just want to say that once more, I wish we had a way of recording this in person, because you saying that it has a rich storyline just kind of made me look at the screen with a very incredulous look on my face.
You're like, how? How do you ever come to these conclusions?
Then again, I am talking to the guy who gets confused by Godzilla movie plots. What's going on? Why are they kidnapping Kong?
Why did they conk him out with mysterious berries and then sail him across the ocean in a raft just so that he could fight Godzilla, so that it would improve the advertising revenue of a media company in Japan? Like, what? Okay, maybe that's an easy plotline, BJ. Maybe it is.
I feel like at some point, somehow our roles here got reversed. Because I thought I was supposed to be the guy that was like all into like the B-movie plots and all that, and you were the deep, you're the one that enjoyed deep plots. But somehow I'm choosing all the movies, I'm choosing all the deep movies, and you're choosing all the B movies.
Yeah. Nothing makes sense. Nothing at all. I have to admit, that last deep movie that you selected, which is Unbreakable, I think I've started to change. Like, the movie is starting to break me. I'm not as unbreakable as I thought. I've been thinking a lot about it, and I think it's a much better movie than I really gave it credit for. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that. I'll just tell you, I think you were more right than I was last time. And now it is spoken. It's been spoken.
Jeff
it is
said I was right.
Recorded into the realms and labyrinth of the internet.
And anyway, going back to your questions, what I thought about,
yeah, take your time.
Yeah, I don't want to say I didn't enjoy it, because I did, but
just tell the truth, BJ. Tell the truth.
It might have been a bit. I don't know if I was just in the wrong mindset, but it was a lot for an hour and 44 minutes.
I think it is kind of hard to watch. It's a little cringy at times. Not heavily cringy, but cringy to the point where it's like, really? Really? Are we doing this?
There were a couple parts that are kind of cringy. A bit. Okay. Maybe I was a bit younger and more innocent the last time I watched this. There's a couple scenes I'm like, wait, really?
All right. So do you recommend this movie or do you not?
If you enjoy the old Batman TV series, sure. It's not.
But if you just like modern Batman with his dark demeanor and dark storylines and crazy, insane villains, then no. Just live with your modern Batman.
Depends on what your camp tolerance is.
Your camp tolerance. Now we're inventing new terms.
Okay. Campy's a term, and...
Campy's a term. Yeah, camp tolerance. Completely understandable.
People have tolerance towards camp. If your camp tolerance is low, then maybe avoid this movie at all costs. I don't know.
Yeah. Some people are just going to get bored. I think that's true.
I also think you have to be in a certain state of mind to watch this movie. I'm not sure I was there because I might have thought too hard about some things. I'll get into details when we start talking spoilers about one particular rabbit hole I went down after watching this movie. But other than that, it's fun. It's, like I said, there were a couple of scenes maybe I was just more innocent and missed some of the innuendos when I was younger, but yeah.
Yeah, I think generally all the innuendos were missed when you're, at least from my experience when I was younger, I missed every innuendo, and then they're blaringly obvious when you get to be grown up.
So, yes. Yeah, I'm like, was that on TV? Did they stuff like that on TV in the 60s, I guess? I don't know.
I know, there's a lot of things they do, but then they didn't want to show people punching other people, so it's a strange sort of censorship. But this movie, they didn't actually censor the punches. They let them be on camera, every smack and punch and kick and double punch. There were plenty of double punches too.
Like I said, I have no idea where this conversation is going to go, man. So
okay, so let's get into spoilers. You only recommend it for those who love to camp, not just like in a campfire in the woods with the animals out there, but campy movies. If you love campy movies, this is a must see. I think it's a good see for anybody. In fact, it's a good thing to like trick people and tell them, can we watch a Batman movie? And they're like, oh, you mean the Christopher Nolan movie? That's awesome. And tell them, yeah, I got this really great Batman movie. And instead of putting on anything dark and serious, you just put this on and play that instead. Do a whole switch and just go with it.
You wonder why you have so few friends. That's mean. That's mean. I'm sorry.
No, I really don't. I'm kind of like isolated. I don't really make friends very much.
This podcast is sad.
No, it's sad. I don't need friends. I have 1,000 imaginary people.
Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Sadcast.
Sadcast.
So
I see social people. I see imaginary people. That's what it is. I have all sorts of people in my head.
Anyway. So
yeah, so I don't interact very much. It's apparent. Okay, let's get into spoilers before any more disasters happen.
Speaking of disasters.
Yes.
So I'll just get this out of the way now. So the random rabbit hole I went down last night after watching this movie. So there's a point where the Penguin accidentally rehydrates his dehydrated henchman with heavy water because, of course, Batman just has a reservoir of heavy water in the Batcave linked up to a drinking water fountain by like a little dial. So
yeah,
Penguin accidentally switches over to heavy water and rehydrates his henchman because the whole overall plot of the movie is that the bad guys have captured this invention that it's a instantaneous dehydrator, so it doesn't kill people, but it turns into a pile of dust until you pour water on it or something like that. I guess that shows how sciencey this movie is. But for some reason, after they get rehydrated with heavy water, as soon as they get touched, they like pop, they like vanish.
Uh-huh.
And the scientific explanation after is kind of like, oh, well, since they were rehydrated with heavy water, as soon as they get struck with a solid blow, they disperse into antimatter. I'm like, wait. I have watched enough sci-fi to know that antimatter is when antimatter and matter collide, it explodes, right? So I went down this rabbit hole, so I'm like, okay. According to some extremely dubious information I found online, so I don't know how true this is. If you reckon that these 5 henchmen are about the average male size, so somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 pounds. Mm-hmm. So when they get punched and disperse into antimatter, that means there's 5 of them, so it's about 750 pounds of antimatter. So according to calculations I did about 1 o'clock in the morning last night, so these are not scientific at all. According to my math, it should have caused like a 14 gigaton explosion.
I don't think the Batcave would have survived that.
For reference, the drop in Hiroshima was 14 kilotons.
Yeah.
So, going off the metric system, I have to do it by computer numbers because it takes a million. You have to have a million KB to equal 1 megabyte, and 1,000 KB and to be 1 megabyte, and then 1,000 megabytes to be 1 gigabyte. So it's like 100,000 times stronger than Hiroshima.
Wow.
Or something
Okay.
like that.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know much about antimatter. I know that
I
it
don't-
was like created in the Big Bang.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't know very much.
To be honest,
I
only
just
thing
know
I've
that when matter and antimatter collide, kaboom. 'Cause
yeah,
that's always the big weapon in sci-fi is antimatter warheads or what have you. So I was
yeah.
just
I don't
Even if
have to
they-
know important things like what antimatter is, as long as I know like which Hollywood couple is marrying or divorcing, or I know all their celebrities and which what they're up to and what their latest stance or whatever is. As long as I know all that, then I have relevant information in my head.
Do you actually follow Hollywood
Dot,
news?
dot. No, I don't.
Okay, good.
But it's true. Like antimatter is
what?
something. Yeah, there's
like,
not much I know about antimatter. So you're saying that it explodes, like when
Well,
they gave an explanation, like
yeah,
the antimatter and matter collided and kaboom.
I don't know like the science behind it or what have you, but matter and antimatter react catastrophically with each other. So
I have heard something of that, but
yeah,
Okay.
according to extremely dubious numbers I found online at 1 o'clock in the morning, it should have caused like a 14 gigaton explosion, which is
and it's really not
very
safe.
large.
It's not safe to have heavy water and drinking water right next to each other, because heavy water is not safe to
What-
drink at all. It's like poison water. Which one?
I mean,
Don't look away while you fill up your cup. Like, pay attention to what you're doing.
I suppose you might as well look into this. Why does Batman have an atomic pile in the Batcave? They turn on the Batmobile? They're like, turn on the atomic battery. It's like if the Batmobile's atomic powered, why does it have fire shooting out the back? Is the fire radioactive?
It's powering the energy
is the
from the
Batmobile
atomic battery.
radioactive?
The energy, it's an electric jet engine. Somehow that's possible.
If it's atomic powered, why do you need a jet engine?
For extra jet engine-y-ness as you drive down
What?
the road.
Like I said, maybe I was just in the wrong state of mind to watch this movie, but I'm just in here, why?
If you're wondering why, then
I mean-
yes, you're in the wrong state of mind to watch this movie. This is a movie with a trillion whys.
I mean,
and
I guess
none of them have any rational answer to them.
I mean, it was cracking me up that they're like blowing up incoming torpedoes by like reversing polarities. I'm like, oh, that's where Star Trek got that from.
Reverse the polarity, which means like what? I don't even know what that even means. Like the frequency is being reversed.
I don't know,
Like the waves are backwards or something, and
It
that causes it to
sounds
blow up?
scientific, so
It sounds scientific because when you reverse the polarity, it's like you're changing positive and negative to be flipped or something like that.
right, but apparently, apparently, if you want to do something sciencey, you just need to flip the polarity on something.
Yeah,
It'll-
it's easy. You
it'll work.
Just do that. Just flip the polarity. It'll be fine.
You just have to reverse the polarity and do something with the deflector shields, and you can do anything. I've watched enough Star Trek to know
It's
that.
easy. Yeah. And his battery runs out. Everything is so funny. Darn it, Robin! The batteries are dead. And so
Well-
you get this nice climactic moment of danger where it's like, oh no, Batman's going to be blown up, and the villains are all happy. They're like, yay, we get to blow up Batman. And oh my goodness.
I will say
What happens next after that scene?
I will say this one thing. At the very least, it seems like the four people being the villains were just having the time of their lives.
Yes. The guy who plays the Joker, I actually watched an interview with him, and that was one of the reasons why I took the part, because he's a very serious actor and he does a lot of stuff. And this is like in 1966 for an actor to do a comic book movie, essentially. It's kind of like lowbrow entertainment. So he was really excited about doing the movie because he could overact. It's fine for him to go all out on a performance. And so he kind of likes that. What was his name?
Cesar Romero.
Cesar Romero, you're right.
I
Cesar
know this
Romero.
because I pulled the Wikipedia page. I'm looking at the cast list.
Yeah, and he apparently didn't want to shave his mustache. So
Yep,
you
so they
can
put-
look closely. You can
They put
see
makeup
his
over the
mustache
mustache.
under his makeup. Yeah. But yeah, that's something that he said. He just liked the energy of the movie. The person that was interviewing him, you could tell that she kind of thought it was a silly movie. A lot of people in 1966, they don't see comic book and superhero stuff as anything legitimate.
Okay. I'm gonna stop you right here. Are you saying this is not a silly movie?
I'm saying, well, it is a silly movie, but I think I want to compliment the cast because they decided to do a fun, silly movie instead of something that people would generally respect as high quality art. But they just wanted to make something that probably kids and teenagers would like, that was just fun and silly, where they could overact. And I think that's good that they saw it that way. It didn't see it as something that was beneath them. That's what I'm trying to say. They didn't think the role was beneath them, and I think that's good. Mic drop.
Mic drop. I don't think that's how mic
That's
drop
not worthy
works,
of a mic drop.
but-
Okay. You don't have to drop a mic. You just have to say mic drop. And that's like the act of dropping. It's the substitution for the real thing.
Also, we don't have the budget to drop our mic, so please don't.
No, we really don't. Yeah, our $15 budget would be spent just like that.
Poof.
Okay, so
Actually went over budgets of Star Trek, Star Wars episodes we talked so long about those, I had to pay extra to host them.
yeah, because we wouldn't be quiet.
Anyway,
Or like I just kept going.
no
Okay,
one's
so
there about that. No one's
PJ,
there about, yes.
Which villain do you think you have the most in common with? Yes,
What?
your personality. Yeah, which one of these Batman villains? And this movie
I don't know. Here,
featured all of them. You
I
get
don't know,
all the Batman villains. Which one do you...
here's the
feel
more
you- yeah.
here's the more interesting question. Which one do you think I have the most in common with?
You always like boomerang the questions back
Yes,
when
I
they're
do.
not good questions in the first place. Okay. I don't know. I kind of... good question. They're all crazy people. I wouldn't really want anything in common with any of them. It was just a question.
Okay.
I always like...
Okay,
which one's your favorite?
Here, I don't know if this like simplifies the question or just makes it more complicated, but how about this? If you take me, you, and mutual friend, and you have to assign us either Penguin, Joker, and Riddler, which one of us is which?
Which part could you play, right? Say like it was some sort of community theater, which would be terrible. I think you'd make a good Two-Face.
Two-Face is
Yeah.
not in this movie. You're not.
Well, that's true. We missed Two-Face. Yeah, it's not in. You would just be one of the pirates that's just shaking your head. Is what it was. Like, who am I working for?
So I'm just
I need to look at the one ads.
a straight. I don't think there's a straight man henchman in this movie either. They're all pretty into it.
They are. There's one henchman where he keeps getting like freaked out by Catwoman because she's all growling and snarling, and he just kind of looks at her like, this woman's crazy. Anyway, I don't know. They're all kind of crazy. I think you do well in any of the parts. It'd be funny if you played any of them. Yeah, I like the Riddler character.
You want to be the Riddler?
Because the Riddler is kind of more neutral. He's evil, but he has this quirk about him where he can't be completely and totally he has to be helpful to those who are trying to stop him. It's weird. Like, he's evil, but then he has to somehow give them a clue to find him. Like, as if he wants to be found and he wants to be discovered. I think that he's just obsessed with people thinking about things and thinking about clues and puzzles. And he wants people to be challenged by puzzles so much that it's an obsession of his. So
I think it's supposed to be something along the lines of he's so sure of his intelligence that he can leave these totally obtuse clues, and he knows the answer, but no one else will, because it's like,
they always know the answer. Like, Batman always gets it. Or Robin, of course.
Of course, it's like totally nonsensical answers, like, what's...
In this movie, it is.
What's yellow and writes? A banana with a pen inside it, or something like that.
You should have been one of the writers for this movie.
No, I'm just quoting
Actually,
it.
totally fix it. Oh, is that one of them?
Yes.
Okay. My favorite was, what's 6 ounces and sits in a tree and is dangerous?
They're like, a squirrel with a machine gun.
Yeah, I thought it was a squirrel, but it was actually a sparrow or something, right?
It was
a sparrow with a machine gun.
Oh, no. It's a really light machine gun. It weighs 6 ounces.
Yeah, what's 6 ounces and sits in a tree?
It's
the riddles are so funny.
I just have this mental image of, like, in The Hobbit, you know, you have Bilbo and Gollum, and they're playing this life and death game with riddles, and I just want to wonder, like, what weighs 6 ounces and it's dangerous?
What's
a squirrel with a machine
6
gun.
ounces and it's dangerous. A sparrow with a machine gun.
And then somehow
everyone wanted to go to the park that day. It was a sunny day. They all wanted to go and have a peaceful afternoon.
It's always a couple of riddles, and somehow they weirdly interconnect, because, like, it was the sparrow with machine gun, and then...
That indicated Catwoman somehow.
What goes up white, it comes down white and yellow. An egg! You put the two together, it's hope, because eggs are open and buy with hope. What's the most hopeful thing in the world?
Yeah, eggs mean
the
hope.
UN!
Somehow an egg is a symbol for hope, and hope is part of the world...
Like the not UN, I guess, was
the not UN.
The United World or something like that?
Yeah, the United World Order.
Was, like, the UN, like, copyrighted or something? Or did they just want to keep it, like, not political? I don't know.
I know, it's fairly political. They do quite a stereotype of many different nations around the world.
Yeah. By the way, this movie was made in the 60s, so...
Yes.
Just keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. I actually really like that the villains created their own logo. They didn't just band together as a group of super friends. They also created a logo with an octopus and all these, like, little tentacles and other things, and it says United Underworld. That logo might be good on a t-shirt. Might. United Underworld.
You heard it here, folks. Get ready for Jeff's merch shop, where he makes makes bootleg t-shirts with the United Underworld logo on them.
Yeah, until I get caught. Of all the things to go to jail for, I had to make bootlegged t-shirts of the United Underworld.
Do you think after all this time, like who even owns the copyright for this anymore, man? Is it Warner Brothers? Does Warner Brothers own the right to all Batman stuff?
Good question.
If I made t-shirts with the United Underworld logo on them, who would come after me?
Yep. Somebody would. Somebody of the 3 companies that exist or something. I don't know. Anyway, so, yes. So, okay, we got to talk about probably the most significant scene of this movie. It's where they show the audience how to effectively get rid of a bomb.
I'm just laughing because reminds me of a conversation we had after we recorded Unbreakable. After
How
we
so?
record, we tend to,
Actually say the more entertaining things
well,
because we don't feel
we,
like we're going to offend anyone, so we just
we
kind of
te-
let loose.
well, we tend to go and look at the YouTube page and try to figure out why some movies are popular and some aren't. And you came up with the theory that It's a Wonderful Life is so popular because we have a disclaimer in the front so people think it's going to be edgy. So
Yes.
I made the joke that we should have a disclaimer on this one because Batman the movie shows improper explosive crap. Now I can't say it. Improper ways to take care of explosives.
Improper disposal of
Disposal.
explosives.
That's the word I couldn't think of.
Yeah. And we laughed about that for a while.
I'm way more funny when the microphone's not on.
That's true. I will attest to that.
Thanks.
Okay, so yes, we should have a disclaimer, even though we won't. But that would be funny.
Start adding random disclaimers. See if it improves our views.
Yep. We just need something controversial in every single one and have a disclaimer at the beginning of the podcast so that people are like, whoa, this one is going to have something in it that is that people shouldn't watch if they feel uncomfortable with it. I better watch it. Yeah, exactly. Silence. Okay.
Oh, no,
Let's just talk about things we're never going to do. And
I'm just going back looking at everything. So, yeah, like, as an example, 2 of our 3 Star Wars talks are doing pretty good. It's like our second and third highest view videos,
okay.
but it's the prequels and the sequels. Our original trilogy is doing like 2/3 worse views than the other 2. I have no idea why.
Yeah. The 2 that we don't like as much are doing really well, and the one that we really love, the 3 movies we really like. I'm speaking for you, of course.
Not that you would know that from how we talked about it.
Well, it's true. It's probably the fact that we spent like half the time complaining about how Star Wars is not being managed correctly through the years. Or blah, blah, blah. Whine. Complain. Yeah. So, anyway, Batman. I mentioned before that Superman was my favorite hero, but I do like Batman as well. And, Batman, everyone thinks of Batman as the dark character. He was not that until 1989. Not that at all. He was a very different character.
In the movies, maybe. I cannot speak for the Batman comics, because I have not, truth be told, not read many of those.
I've read many of the early comics, but it was years ago, and I don't remember all the details, but I know that when it started, which I believe was in the 1940s, it was a lot more like the Adam West Batman. Maybe not as silly. It was trying to be more serious than that, but it's still very colorful. It wanted to have all those blues and reds and yellows. It was very classic superhero-y looking comic books. It wasn't dark at all. And so when they made the Adam West version of Batman, of course they would make it like the comic book. I think that's the natural way to make it. But somehow I think Tim Burton saw it as something completely different, which of course, knowing Tim Burton, of course he would see Batman the way he did. But he made him dark and serious. He made Batman for adults or for older teenagers who just like, they're starting to like dark and things because, what else is in a teenager's soul but darkness? I'm just kidding. Okay. But, yeah.
I don't know if I'm willing to say that Tim Burton has the sole responsibility of turning Batman dark, but I don't have enough information to make that judgment.
Yeah, I guess if people have more information, they could make a counter argument. Maybe the comic books did drift towards something darker before Tim Burton, but if you just take it by the movies
If you actually have this
themselves,
information, leave it in the comments, please. We like comments.
we like comments.
We like
only have
comments.
like 2 or 3 so far.
And they're all from one of my sisters. Thank you. Thank you. You're the only person that comments.
Yeah, so if you just look at the movies and TV shows about Batman, then yeah, it seems like Hollywood reinvented Batman in the late 80s. It was a complete retooling and reinvention. And a very good one too. Yeah. You know, it's weird. Reinventing characters can pay off, but it's like redecorating. There was one of my favorite restaurants had this cool medieval looking theme to it, and they kind of like redecorated it into a kind of a modern art looking one, and I hated it. So sometimes retooling something can be bad, but I think when they redid Batman in 1989, it was a good thing. But I still like the Adam West Batman though. There's fun. It's fun.
It's been a long time since I've watched the Tim Burton Batmans. I remember liking the first one. I wasn't such a big fan of the second one. Was that Batman?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of the second one.
The second one, Batman Returns?
Yeah, something like
Is
that.
that the one with Penguin and Catwoman?
Yes, and you had Danny DeVito as Penguin, which is really good. I think Danny DeVito does an amazing job as Penguin.
And then they went kind of wild because then it was Batman Forever, which I kind of liked. I won't lie. At least
you liked Batman Forever, which is the one
at least
with Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah.
As the Riddler?
Yeah. Jim Carrey and
Val Kilmer as Batman.
What? And who was Two-Face? Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. It's a really good cast.
Yeah, I mean, again, not a very serious movie, but I have not seen Batman and Robin, which is the one that everyone hates.
Yeah. They wanted to make another Batman. They needed more money, so they went after it. And it completely blew up after that.
Then you have the Nolan ones, which are all pretty good, though maybe unpopular opinion. Of the 3 Nolan ones, The Dark Knight might be my least favorite of the 3, but that's one everyone else loves.
Which is everyone's favorite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone loves it. I actually, I'm kind of a wimp, really, because I try to watch that movie. I don't really get through it. I think I've seen it through once, but I don't remember. But I know that I've started that movie and I've gotten halfway in and I'm just like, I gotta turn this off. Not into it.
Yeah, I think
it's dark. It's very dark,
mm-hmm.
and I don't do well with like cold-blooded violence kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like I love the X-Files, but every time they do a serial killer episode, I'm like, skipping. I want to do one that's about aliens and abductions and stuff.
Yeah,
it's a little too real because serial killers are a real thing, even though they're incredibly rare. But still, it's a little bit too dark for me.
Yeah, I think
it's not that it's a bad movie. I just I'm weak. That's what it is. I just can't handle it.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying I am right, everyone else is wrong. I'm saying I have a difference of opinion with the mainstream opinion of this. I think Batman Begins might be my favorite of the 3. That's just me.
Yeah, I think Batman Begins. It seems like they feel like the audience loves stories about why can't I use words?
The origin story?
Yeah, the origin story. They love origin stories, and that's one of the things they like is that rather than the real, because the comic books had a quick origin story. You do a one issue where you have like a few pages where the superhero gets introduced, but then you're on to the action and the villains and the adventure. You don't really go in depth into the origin story. So for the audience to get a really thorough origin story, it's almost like it's new. So I get why they made why Christopher Nolan and all his gang of movie making people decided to really invest so much of the movie in just where Batman comes from. So it's good, but still, I think that in terms of style, I really like the Tim Burton Batman better. I think that the coldness, the style, the just the darkness of those characters, those are more comedic dark. Um, and I don't really like Tim Burton stuff generally, but when he did Batman, I thought it was really interesting what he came up with.
Yeah, I remember liking the Tim Burton one, at least the first one, but I also haven't seen it in like 20 years, so,
Hmm.
so I don't think I can really comment on that one.
Anyway,
I hear your brain gears working over there, so I assume the Tim Burton Batman's going to be a future episode at some point.
I do like it. We should do the one that everyone hates that has George Clooney in it. It's fun to review. Yeah.
It's always your idea to hate watch something, and then it's always your idea to not watch it because you decide you don't want to watch it anymore.
It's true. Some of the hate watches we planned on, I just said, no, we can't do it.
Well,
it's too
you
much.
say we, but there's two we were going to do. Armageddon and, what was the other one? Ishtar?
Yeah, Ishtar.
And
no, Armageddon we canceled because it was long and you didn't want to do it.
No.
You want to do something shorter.
No, I was down to watch Armageddon. You were...
You're rewriting history again.
No, I'm not. I will go back and listen to the Burbs episode where we talk about this. Because
podcast recording.
I would not have been the one to say, instead of watching Armageddon, let's watch the Burbs. I have made my view on the Burbs very clear.
Okay.
So no, that was you deciding you didn't really want to watch Armageddon. And so you tried to make me choose, and I said, no, it's your turn. And so you punched me by making me watch The Burbs without knowing that it was a movie I kind of didn't like.
I didn't know it would be a punishment. If I had known it would be a punishment, I would have laughed after I told you we were watching it.
There would have been much more cackling.
Yes, there would have been.
And then the other one was Ishtar, and and I hadn't gone around to watching it yet. And you sent me a text, BJ, have you started watching Ishtar yet? I'm like, no. And you're like, good, don't. Let's watch something else.
Yes. Ishtar is unwatchable. I think the Star Wars Holiday Special is more watchable than Ishtar. Ishtar is, yeah. It's inhuman torture is what it is. Anyway,
that's why we no longer pick movies based on Far Side comics.
That's why. Yes, we've learned our lesson. Okay, we were originally long ago in a tangent far away. We were talking about the bomb scene.
Yes.
Where, of course, Batman sees a bomb, and it's a very 1966 Batman-looking bomb, and which is a big round sphere with just flames shooting off the top. I guess it has a fuse that doesn't burn down; it just burns.
I've always been curious. Did bombs ever look like cartoon bombs? I mean, they must have because of how universal it is, right?
Yes. I know that I only know information based on movies. I know in the Three Musketeers, they had bombs that were more historical. They looked like that, only they had spikes on them.
Which Three Musketeers? There's a bunch
1970s.
Of them, okay.
Musketeers, not the newer ones. Yeah, so they had a bet that they would eat their breakfast on top of a wall, and so that wall was in a dangerous spot surrounded by enemies, but they did it, and there were all these bombs they were throwing in, and they would have to they had spikes on them. They would have to hit them with a board like they're golfing.
I think
anyway,
the only Three Musketeers movie I've seen was the Disney one from the 90s. Was it the 90s?
You haven't seen any of the older ones?
I don't think so. I haven't read the book either. But then again, I think we talked about how we generally feel about classic books.
Classic books.
You talked about that during Unbreakable.
Yeah, it's true.
I tried to read the classics every now and then, but it just doesn't work anyway. Carry on. Bombs. Kaboom.
Bombs, kaboom. Yes. So he picks
No
up the
way.
bomb. He has to get rid of it. And every time he goes to throw the bomb, there's somebody there. Some innocent person is in the way. And so he has to run through. I mean, what would you do if you were in a crowded place and a guy in essentially a tight superhero costume that's very colorful runs through with this giant circle above his head? It's just a comical looking thing.
Well,
I'm not sure what I would do in public if I just saw somebody running around like.
In this particular setting, the people know and love Batman, because at the very beginning when they're flying around the Batcopter, there's people looking and say, "Oh, I feel so safe with Batman and Robin on the job," and there's like 3 cops walking along. They'll stop and put their hats over their hearts.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of
like people on a picnic.
And there's a bunch of
sure feels good
ladies
to know that they're up there
on top of a building in bikinis for some reason.
because we all know the reason. Because Batman's gonna wave to them. That's why.
Because we have a budget. Why not have just a bunch of scantily clad ladies on a building somewhere? Why not?
Mm-hmm.
The 60s were wild, man. Anyway, the bomb.
He runs through, can't get rid of the bomb. And he runs off camera and explodes. And I just think it's funny because Robin is just, when he sees Batman run off and suddenly there's an explosion, he thinks Batman has been killed and he's devastated. And he walks up to the pier behind this bunch of metal beams of some kind. And he's just like, Batman, Batman. And then Batman like stands up right next to him about 2 feet away. And it's just, this movie is all like that. Everything just seems to be engineered to be incredibly, incredibly like a superhero spoof movie. It's done so well that it's miraculous. And the evil people, like the evil villains, their grand plan for getting rid of, well, they have many different plans to get rid of Batman. Their first plan is to make an invisible boat so that he will try to board the boat, but then he'll go past it because it will disappear, and he'll dip into the water and find an explosive shark. Not just a shark to trap him, an explosive shark. So Batman gets bitten by the shark, and he has to beat it with his mighty Batman fists, trying to beat this shark.
He's punching the shark, which is theoretically filled with explosives, for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's just sitting there.
While Robin climbs down the ladder with the shark repellent bat spray.
Yes. Which they are well prepared for. They have like 5 different repellent sprays for different sea creatures available. So they are well prepared.
Time in this movie trying to figure out their logic of where to insert the word bat into their equipment. Like,
even their ladder is a bat ladder. It's not a ladder on the helicopter.
No,
it's the bat ladder.
It's a bat ladder. How do you know it's a bat ladder? Because hang off a bomb rung is a sign saying bat ladder.
Yes. This entire movie is just filled with things that are well labeled. This is a great example for people who are disorganized, who have like all these drawers just like packed with all these random things. Watch this movie and see how they organize everything. Even the villains, their lair is just so organized. They have one set of shelves for the Riddler, and they have his jokes and his riddles, and then there's a joke shelf for the Joker, and then there's one for the Penguin, and he has fish and other sea related stuff, and everything's marked private. In other words, don't mess with any of this stuff. It's incredible.
The next Batman villain, just a guy who walks around with one of those machines that prints labels out you can attach the thing. The labeler.
The labeler. The labeler. The labeler strikes again. Who did this, Batman? Only one person could have labeled everything in this entire place. The labeler.
The labeler. Anyway, after all this time,
what do we say after that?
it's like after all this time, did we finally let you get to your thought on the bomb?
Yeah.
Or every tangent so far that...
Well, no, there were many other
forgot
tangents. So they first try to like get him with the shark. Then their next plan is to have him to actually kidnap Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne. Kidnap him so that Batman will come and save him, and the Batman will step on some sort of catapulty thing. Springboard that will then shoot him through a window. Somehow he's going to stand right on that springboard. Somehow. So they just set it up in the middle of his lair. He's going to stand on it. He'll be shot out the window into the ocean where with an exploding octopus is there waiting for him. Not an octopus that will like attack him. No, an exploding octopus. And that it really happens. One of the henchmen accidentally steps on it later on, and you get to see this tiny little like miniature person. It looks like a G.I. Joe or something that just flies into the ocean, and then you see an explosion.
In my memory of this movie, there was way more people stepping on the spring block and getting launched. I
only remember one, but that's kind of funny if they all
It just happened once, but for some reason in my memory, I thought that was more of a running gag. So that was just my brain making the scene better or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And then those were their plans. Their third plan, that I didn't want to miss this one, is to dehydrate 5 different goons into powder and then make it so that the Penguin is captured.
We kind of talked about this one already.
Yeah, we did. So this whole plan is
because where my antimatter rant came from.
Yeah. The Penguin knows that to identify him, they have to take him to his lab and do a retinal scan on his eye because his fingerprints are like removed or plastic or something. There's something wrong with his hands where they can't get a fingerprint, so they have to identify him using a retinal scan, which they can do in the Bat Cave, which is like super high tech.
Because for some reason they can't just go off the fact that it's obviously the Penguin.
No, they can't. Even though they know it's the Penguin.
He's smoking the Penguin cigar. He keeps going rap, 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 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it is obviously the Penguin. They both know it is obviously the Penguin. They look at each other and say,
identify
"This is
him as
obviously the Penguin." But we need evidence, I guess, to take him in, to arrest him. Even though they gas him, they knock him out to take him to the Batcave. So
yeah, and he complains about his rights being infringed when they take him to the Batman. Which honestly, he might be a little bit right on that, because if they're not really identifying him, then can they apprehend him? Anyway, none of that matters. Point is, they get him to the cave. He then is like, "Can I have a drink of water?" And they're like, "Sure." Go and use the faucet over there.
That's clearly labeled the drinking water.
Yes.
Despite the fact that at the flick of a switch, it does heavy water instead.
Yes, which is like the same faucet. There's 2 faucets there, so I would think like, okay, one is heavy water and one is drinking water. No, he connects it to one of the faucets, and then it switches over to heavy water. It's just a switch. Yeah, so, wow.
Yeah.
Yep, so 3 plans. They all don't work out because the goons, yeah, we already went through that. Somehow antimatter or something causes them to become unstable. Unfortunately for the goons. You know, the funny thing is, this is kind of dark. Welcome to the dark thing. There's a dark line in this movie where when they take these 5 goons and they zap them to dehydrate them into powder, and they sweep them into with a dustpan. The Penguin comes up and he says this line like, "Careful, careful. Remember, they all have mothers."
They all have mothers.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
Well,
how does that line even fit into this movie?
Well, later on in the cave, after they poof, And Batman gives Robin the scientific explanation, and Robin is like, so they're not coming back? And he's like sad about it. And Batman's like, not in this universe. But then later on, after the whole thing with the bomb, after Batman comes up, oh yes, I'm fine. Robin turns to Batman and says, I can't believe you risked your life for all those drinkers in the bar. I'm like, you were sad about the henchmen getting pooped, but you're mad at Batman for almost dying because he didn't just leave the bomb in the bar so that the bar patrons could get exploded.
Yeah.
I hope that was supposed to be some sort of social commentary. If not, that was kind of weird.
I don't know. It shows Batman as the hero because he saves people even when most people think they're not worth it because they're just people who get drunk and don't do anything useful, blah, 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 blah. But he saves them anyway because he's Batman. He saves people. Yeah. Anyway. And, it's weird. Like, this whole dehydration ray, they shoot these people, they see what's happening, and they just kind of like stand there because they're henchmen, I guess. But later on I think it's funny that when they do this again at the UN building and they're shrinking the world organization.
Yeah, the not UN.
The not UN, other organization of world leaders endlessly arguing over things. They shoot them one by one, and they don't even stop arguing. They just go on and on and on. Yeah, it's comical.
Oh, here's my question. So when they dehydrated the goons all turned into dust of the same color, but the world leaders were color-coded when they turned to dust.
Yes, they were.
And
some of them had more dust and less dust.
When
you look at like the vials, some of them are full, some of them are kind of empty.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no, because after the dust inevitably gets all mixed up and they use the bat molecular dust organizer or whatever it was labeled as.
Yeah, he has a machine just to like sort the dust of different dehydrated people. Just in case. Yeah, Batman has that kind of thing, just sitting around in his cave, yeah.
So when they do that, all the dust comes out equal. So, like...
Which means, yeah, but before it broke, they were different levels.
Yes.
Like, one was really low. That person did not have much to them, apparently. There wasn't much hard matter once you took away the water, but... Oh, my goodness. No, it's just funny. Oh, it's so funny. I think that's the thing about this movie. It's in this weird twilight zone of tone where it actually has a tone like you're supposed to love it as a comic book that's now been turned into a movie. But at the same time, it's so quirky that it's like it's a comedy, but then it's also doesn't quite hit the right tones to make it obvious that it's a comedy, which is why we call it campy. But I'm not sure if that description of campy really accurately describes it either, because you can get the sense that they are intending to make it funny. It's just that I think they tried to make it funny, but then it became like a whole new kind of funny as it aged, where it has so many things that are, yes, they're funny jokes, but they go beyond into campy, quirky jokes.
You know, some of the humor is just nonsensical, like the answers to the riddles and how the riddles all somehow add up to this bigger picture. Like what's the first one? They figure out the clues behind the boat and like something. I forget what the rest of the clues were, but I remember saying, then the crime happened out at sea. Sea for Catwoman.
Catwoman. That is such abstract thinking.
Here's another thing I noticed. Was it just me, or was there like two separate scenes where they came to the conclusion that there were four villains working together? Yeah. I think they had the idea that the first time they solved the riddles, they had all the clues, and they established that the heroes
understand that there's 4 villains. But
And
then they kind of
they're
like
all
go
working
at
together.
it again later on.
And then they come back and they're like, oh, they're all working together. I'm like, you knew that already. We had this conversation.
It's almost like they have a podcast where they just repeat themselves over and over again, talking about the same points. Again and again.
And again and again.
And again.
And again.
And again. And
And
again.
again. And again.
And again.
It's like a running gag, but not.
But not a running gag. People are probably tired of it by now. They're like, move on already. You've heard that already.
Are you saying that I should stop hurting you for having a hard time following Godzilla movie plots? Is this an intervention?
No, that one never gets old. That one never gets old. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. What are we talking about?
I don't know.
I don't.
We've been talking about whatever for like an hour now.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say
Yes.
about Batman the movie?
Okay. There was one line that like totally threw me. It's with Miss Kitka when she's like playing him in the most obvious way possible that he's completely oblivious to, and they're back at the apartment and she says some sort of line like I'm gonna go do this while your hot cocoa warms up. There's some line about that, and when I heard that, I laughed for about 5 minutes.
Well,
I couldn't stop.
there's
It's
the
just
scene.
like,
There's
of all
the
the things
scene.
that Adam West has, it's like, yeah, he goes to her penthouse apartment, and of course, hot cocoa is what he's really after.
Well, there's the scene of them on the date, and they're like in this fancy restaurant, and I swear on my life, she's drinking wine, and he has this big like wine glass of milk. I want to say it was milk. I could be wrong.
It's called, I'm not an expert, but I think that's like a White Russian or something. It's like a drink that's white. I think they do add milk to it. I don't know. But yeah, it does look like he's just like drinking milk. It's a wholesome thing.
I mean, I'm not a drinker, so I don't know like what the proper amount of alcohol is, but that seemed like a pretty big glass for something that, because White Russian would be vodka, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
That's why it's a White Russian, because it's milk and vodka, because vodka is
That makes
stereotypically Russian. Again, I'm not a drinker, so I don't know.
But it's funny though. Just the idea of it being milk is kind of funny. He just drinks milk on his date. Oh my goodness. It's just funny because the audience knows that it's Catwoman, and he just wants so hard to believe that it's a Russian journalist.
There's the scene at the end where Catwoman like trips, loses her mask, and Batman sees that it's Miss Kitka, and it plays like the sad French music I was playing at the restaurant. It's like it's supposed to be this dramatic scene, and I'm like,
yeah. He's like, don't say anything more, Robin. It will reveal something.
It'll be compromising.
Which means, any person just hearing that, you'd be like, wait a minute. Why would it be compromising? Well, they would figure out that they're the same person.
I mean, at this point, Bruce Wayne, has been up the criminal gang like 4 times by himself.
Yeah.
And never once did they stop and think, gee, this seems awfully familiar. Apparently this playboy billionaire just knows martial arts very well.
Yeah. Yep, Bruce Wayne knows how to throw a punch. Apparently a lot like Batman. Also, it's really funny. When they decide to fly to the apartment to kidnap Bruce Wayne, they have to take their jet umbrellas, their jetpack umbrellas.
Well, that's on brand.
That.
I mean, Batman has bat everything, including the bat cycle. The bat cycle made me laugh because the person, I don't know if it was Burt Ward or a stuntman who was in the sidecar, but he looked like he was having 0 amounts of fun in that sidecar.
Yeah.
No windscreen, no goggles. He's just taking the full force of highway speed to the face.
Yeah. I don't know if this is true, but I want to say I watched something long ago talking about how that motorcycle was actually kind of dangerous. They have to be careful with it because when it
didn't seem
splits off
very
the
safe.
motorcycle, it just kind of like goes somewhere. So they have to be careful that it doesn't cause any injuries.
Well, there's the part where they detach the sidecar, so Robin doesn't have to like walk around the Batcopter. Oh, and
Yeah,
by the way,
it saves them about like 0.5 seconds is what it does.
every time the Batcopter deploys, they have to shut down the entire airport. The air traffic controller gets on radio and says, "All flights maintain holding pattern. Batcopter, you're clear to launch." So like the entire airport has to shut down. Flights across the nation are cancelled or delayed so Batman and Robin can take off.
Yeah, this is very different from other Batmans because Batman always has his own facilities. He doesn't use because yeah, nobody cooperates with Batman. The police kind of have their bat signal and they know Batman and they get to know him, but they don't they're not really like together on things. He shows up and talks to him at crime scenes, but it's not like they're holding his vehicles for him when he needs them. They don't do anything like that. He has all his stuff secretly stashed away and nobody can get to it. Yeah. And I think part of it is that, I don't know, hiding a helicopter would be hard. I mean, he would need a really big cave. And part of it is like a helicopter flies out of a mountain. People will notice that kind of thing.
He's hiding a nuclear reactor in his cave.
For his atomic batteries. Yeah.
Have to charge the atomic batteries so we can turn on the jet turbines in the Batmobiles. We can have fire shoot out the back.
He doesn't have a Tesla station very close to his bat cave. So he's got to have his own stuff.
I think if Tesla's like shot fire out the back, they might sell better.
I do think so. I think that if they did add jet engines to their vehicles, people would be like, okay, fine, I'll have one now.
When slapping a jet engine on a Tesla kind of defeat the whole point of having
having what
engine.
energy efficient vehicle.
Yeah, my car gets like 10 gallons a mile. Don't you mean that other way around? Nope, it's a jet engine. 10 gallons a mile.
Yeah, it's completely unpractical. Why would you need? I mean, if you put a jet engine on a car, that cars can be going really fast. There have been actual cars that have had jet engines attached to them, that have been racing, not on roads obviously, but like in raceways of different places. And so a jet engine could make a car go really fast. But if you're in a city, then how much is that jet engine really going to be useful as you're weaving around street corners?
Yeah, jet cars are designed to go fast in a straight line, not to turn.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I still want one. I still want a Batmobile.
At this point, I wonder if...
I just want to drive through one drive-through window in the Batmobile. I just want to do it once. Get a burger and fries in the Batmobile.
I wonder what the cost of jet fuel is to, like, regular fuel nowadays.
You know, I haven't looked that up as of recently. I don't pay attention to jet fuel futures and pricing.
Is there, I mean, I guess if like the airport has like their own hangar set aside for Batman, he could like jet fuel at the airport, because like otherwise what does he do? Is there like a gas station in Gotham that like has a bat gas pump set aside just for jet fuel for Batman?
Yeah, it has like a little, it's got, yeah, the whole Batman symbol on it. The nozzle looks like a bat. Yep. The bat pump.
To the bat pump.
The bat pump.
The bat pump. We're always out of fuel. To the bat pump.
No, he's rich. He's got to have like a giant fuel tank in the Batcave somewhere, full of rocket fuel.
Stores rocket fuel right next to the atomic
it's not conspicuous when a rich millionaire in a big house orders a bunch of like 5,000 pounds of rocket fuel to his rich manor estate, whatever. Like,
Well, he just orders at the same time, and he does his, the cooling rods.
his cooling rods. He'll order it all together.
Buy-
Let's see,
buy-
5 cooling rods,
Buy 2, get 1 free.
uranium
What a deal.
P-238. What else do you need? Oh yeah, 5,000 pounds of rocket fuel.
500 pounds of rocket fuel, 5 cooling rods, and
a computer that has a database of every buoy on the ocean.
every buoy on the ocean.
Just all that stuff. They just kind of deliver it to his house.
Do you, by chance, have a computer and a machine designed to sort different piles of dust? I feel like I might need that for some reason.
Yes. Alfred probably gets all this stuff for him. He probably just has a shopping list and he goes to town.
And when you build that for me, could you, by chance, label it the Bat Computer?
Yes.
No reason. Don't ask why.
Don't ask why.
There's some manufacturing company. There's some manufacturing company somewhere like, man, this strange millionaire guy, he just keeps buying all this stuff and wants us to put Bat on it. Huh. Rich people are weird, I guess.
Yeah, they're weird.
Then again, I guess.
What do you think of the scene where they call the Navy?
I was just about to bring that up. I guess this is the same universe where they just have like war, like
$1 million war sales of war equipment, like on a Rolodex sitting on their desk.
They just have surplus ballistic missile submarines for sale.
Yep.
So does
you look at that scene,
so does that come with the missiles, or
does the Penguin build those? Well, he said they were his missiles. Like he had the Polaris missiles, which is funny because that submarine. There's no way that this World War II era submarine could have a Polaris missile on it.
I actually had the same thought. I had the same thought because I'm like, wait a second, if this is the 60s, like a war surplus submarine would be like World War II submarines. They didn't have like ICBMs in World War II.
No, they did not. That missile is like as long as that submarine is in terms of width. Like it wouldn't even physically fit in that thing, I would think, because those missiles are giant.
But
you can tell just because they use footage of real Polaris missiles, and they're huge as they come out of the water.
But then again, here we are trying to argue the logic of this movie. We're back where we started with.
Yes, and we're not supposed to do that.
With the 14 gigaton antimatter explosion.
Yeah. But in that scene where they call the Navy and they're like, so did you sell any surplus submarines? And they said, oh yeah, to a Penguin. Anyway, there's a waste bin in the back that says classified on it. So they're like throwing away like documents into this bin. Anyway, I think it's part of the whole goofy thing that they're just careless with what they're doing.
Yeah, I think there's some political commentary, social commentary, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, something. Just comedy about ridiculous weapon sales is what it is.
It's basically how you can sum up this movie. It's sure is something.
It sure is something.
Sure is something.
Apparently Adam West had to have his tea while filming. He had to have his tea at a certain time every day. I've heard that. I don't know if it's true.
I was going to say, is this confirmed, or is this just another random fact coming out of the abyss of your brain?
It's in the abyss of the brain, but I want to say that the guy who played Robin said that there was a certain time of day where he had to have his tea, which I actually totally understand. I like having something to count on after a full day's work. It's actually really nice to have something you can have where it's like your break and your time to sit down, unwind, and relax a little bit, and then get back. Something regimented like that. It's not a bad thing. But yeah. Anyway, and I think creative people know that you can't just work yourself to death. you got to give yourself time to stop and let your mind unwind a little bit, because you got to, keep up with things creatively. So you can't just push too hard. But anyway, I don't know why I even mentioned that, but of course, because I just wanted another tangent.
Yep.
Yep.
Because back before we started recording, I'm like, I don't know how long this episode's going to be, because I don't know how much we can talk about. And here we are at like a pre-edited hour 20.
Yeah. Anyway, that's fine. We can cut it there. We can let the audience go on and live a normal life and not have to listen to us. Not that they even had to in the first place.
Run! Save yourselves!
Yep, they should then just listen to the Princess Mononoke recording, because there's only like 11 people that have ever viewed that one.
Oh.
Yeah, that one needs more love.
The logic of views makes no sense to me, but...
No, it doesn't, because that was a good recording, but I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe.
so yeah, I recommend it, and you halfway recommend it, only for those that are really, really big.
My recommendation is more tentative. If you know what you're in for and you're all about it, go ahead. But
yeah,
it is campy. It's enjoyable, but also, be prepared for some 1960s, what's the word I'm looking for? 1960s, I don't know,
but it's definitely a movie from the 1960s.
Yes,
it's like if Batman was at a beach party sometimes.
And if you haven't seen Batman since you were a kid, I don't know if the TV series had this kind of innuendo, but there is some innuendo in this movie, boy. I was not prepared for it, so maybe that's why it stuck out so bad, but it's like...
I know that from the TV show, there was an episode, the only episode I remember was where Batman had to surf for some reason. And so he got on a surfboard and surfed in the ocean, and he was like the best surfer.
Because
he was the best at it. But then a shark tried to attack him. So he had to use his bat spray, his shark repellent bat spray. So it is actually the shark repellent and other repellents, they are featured in the TV series. They weren't just made up for this movie.
Bat anything. Anyway.
I think that's where Apple got the idea. It's like they have the iPhone, the iPad. They cut it from Batman. The Bat Cave. The Batcopter.
The first Steve Jobs.
I don't really know if that's true.
At first, Steve Jobs wanted to call it Bat everything, but like, no, that'll be too obvious. iPod, iMac, iPad, iPen, etc.
Exactly. It's really a clever way to brand everything, and also to have the names of things be memorable. Because if the Batmobile had some other weird name, it wasn't just called the Batmobile, how confusing would this whole thing be if you had like 10 different vehicles and all these, the Batarang or whatever, you had all this stuff to keep track of. It would just be a mess. Anyway.
I don't know what to say anymore, because if I say anything,
it's just
going to trigger another tangent. We'll go on for another 5 minutes.
You just have to stop talking in order to end it. Make it stop.
I'm going to hit the bat end button. The end bat button? I'm still confused on the logic of where to insert the word bat. Because it's not the shark repellent spray. It's the shark repellent bat spray. Does that mean it's made out of bats? Or... Never mind. I'm not going there.
Yeah. You're trying... That's too much logic. Too much.
14 gigaton explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yep. Well, you don't have heavy water next to your drinking water.
No.
This really is just a safety video about the dangers of putting dangerous chemicals next to drinking water.
I mean, it's way more amusing than the safety videos I have to watch at work every year.
Safety videos can be kind of amusing.
Don't stand in the compactor if it's on. No, really?
They have to say it, because some people might be like, well,
Because at some point, someone got smashed in the compactor while I was on and decided to turn around and sue. So now for legal reasons, we have to say this.
Okay. We've done enough bat damage in this bat podcast. So
The Wandering Tangent Batcast.
Yep.
Anyway.
We'll do this again at the same bat time, in the same bat place, the same bat podcast. In something like 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks-ish.
Something else. So we're going to announce what we're going to do next, or not? Do we do that at all? I don't even know.
Well, if my math is right, then the next episode comes out on... Is it on the 1st? Look at my calendar really quick before I say this. Yeah, so our next podcast will come out on the 1st of July. I don't want to exactly spoil what it is, but...
Okay.
But I'll just say that it is something that goes along for the holiday.
Uh-huh.
I know what it is.
We all know you know what it is.
Oh, I told you what it is, so I hope you know what it is.
I think I know. Oh, I forgot. I'm always forgetting stuff. I'm the best person to keep a secret because I don't keep anything.
It's the guy who picks the time to record the podcast. I'm sitting up to get my computer set up. I hear my phone buzz. I'm like, oh, there's Jeff one, and push it back an hour. Look at my phone. Yep, there's Jeff pushing it back an hour.
And the universe continues to be predictable.
Patterns everywhere.
Yep. Okay. And that's it.
Okay. Jeff is declaring it to be bat over.
Bat over. This is our bat ending.
This is the bat ending. So thank you for joining us on what am I saying?
You're saying thank you to them.
Thank you.
And then you were saying, we're done. That's it.
Thank you for listening to the Wandering Tangent podcast. I'm BJ. With me is Jeff. And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Ugh.